it's Mona here, Craft Klatch, and I have a Halloween resin craft for you. Those of you who have watched my video on the gingerbread house that I did last Christmas, I'm going to use that same mold, but I'm going to use it for Halloween. Here's a mold, and I want it to look like an old haunted house and that type of a thing. So what I'm going to use is some paint, and I'm going to use a combination of some brown paint and some gray paint. And on the slats, I'm just going to start painting the two different colors. And I'm going to kind of streak them. And I'm not going to give it full coverage either. But I want it to look kind of old and worn and dilapidated. And obviously I can't change the form of the boards, but I can give it kind of that look. And I'm going to do that on all of the boards, and it might take 2 coats because again we're painting on silicone, and the silicone doesn't always want to take the paint right away, so sometimes it takes 2 coats. I do want to be careful not to get it on the windows. What I've done with the roof, I mixed some black with the brown and the gray, and on the door I mixed some red with the brown and the gray. And I'm letting all of this stuff dry before we move on to the next step. The paint has all dried. Remember all the directions for all my crafts, you can find those over at craftklatch.com. There's a tutorial tab that you can click on and find whatever you're looking for. It's a real easy way to find stuff. I'm using the dyes that, the opaque dyes that are made for the resin. And I'm using the Envirotex Light, and I'm using 4 ounces, and I'm doing this, I don't know how much I'm going to need total, so I'm kind of doing 4 ounces at a time. So I just put some white dye in there because I want this to be nice and opaque, so that'll give us our base. And then I'm going to put some black in there. This is obviously the color that's going to be shining through those areas where the paint didn't take. And I couldn't decide what color to do, so I'm going to do kind of a gray, maybe just a touch of brown in there too. Then I'm going to do 1 quick squirt of the green. So that's the color we're working with. Now I'm going to start to pour it into the molds for the walls. Now I want to go kind of slow and let it spread around, because I don't want to get anything on the windows if I can avoid it. And I do want it to go between the window panes here, because that's going to create that grid for the window. Now when I'm doing this, I also want to be very careful that I'm not scraping the paint off with my stir stick. A little bit I have left in here I'm going to put in the door. And then I'll put the rest that I have, I'll just drip it along the roof. Let it spread out and do its thing. Alright, then I'm going to take my lighter, run it over all of the pieces. Get rid of bubbles. Let this stuff set up. Then I will come back when it is set up and put the next layer on. I have mixed more of the Envirotex Light, and this one I'm going to go pretty dark. I'm going to go black and maybe a little brown in there. We'll see how that goes. And this is to fill in some of the areas here that weren't covered, which I do like. And I'll throw a little brown in there. A little brown, little green, little black. A lot of black. Alright, so it's pretty darn dark. Now what I'm going to do is carefully start dripping it, more so than anything else, so it spreads out. Again, my concern are the windows. I don't want it to cover up the windows, so I'm going to drip, spread it around a little bit, and I'll do this on all of the panels because the rest of this is going to fill in the roof. I've prepared more resin. This one's going to be a clear layer so that the windows are going to be clear. The pieces have set, so now I can unmold them. So these are our roof pieces. So they do have kind of a weathered look to them. And then these are the side pieces. Actually, I like the way they look. All right, and here is the door, like a weathered red. It's time to start gluing the house together. And what I'm going to do is put the wall behind the front, just like this. And I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and either the E6000 or I have this Loctite adhesive. Either or doesn't make any difference. I punctured a hole in my E6000 somehow. So in the event my E6000 doesn't come up or I don't have enough, I can always use the other one. And I'm using both the hot glue and the E6000 for the strength, and the hot glue just to hold it in place while that E6000 is holding. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a skewer stick and some of the E6000. I'm going to work it across the edge here. And don't worry too much if anything should squish out or anything when you put them together, because we're going to be doing some decorating. We can hide any and all flaws. So here's the front. I'm going to squish it together just like this. Now I'm not putting the hot glue on yet because I want to make sure that I get the house squared. I don't want a wonky wall and then it's stuck that way. So I'll do the same on this one. And now I'm going to put it along the backs of the walls. Okay, now I'm going to put the wall on the back. Squish them all together. Make sure I got them nice and straight. Now I'm going to add my hot glue to the inside. I don't need to run a bead all the way across unless I wanted to. Oops. I just want it enough to be able to hold it, so if you do it just in a couple spots, that's fine. If you want to go all the way, go all the way. Alright, so this stuff is ready to be set. Now I got to do the roof. So I'm going to add some more E6000. Now I'm going to set this on just like this. Double check that that's the right spot for it. I want it to come right up to the edge of the corners. There we go. Throw a little hot glue in here to keep it in place. I'll hold it for a second, then I'll do the same with the other. Now we get to start decorating. I have a basswood plaque. This one I got at Michael's, and I have the house on here. I haven't attached it or anything. It will never be attached. But I'm just wanting to show you some of the fun stuff that I got. At Michael's, I found these little zombie characters, which I was originally going to do the gingerbread people, but I didn't really know how to effectively turn them into zombies. So these were actually like the perfect size. I also got these picks, which I'm going to kind of create some landscaping. I might use this one out there too. And then I found this fencing too, which I thought would be perfect. So I'm going to play with the placement of this, and then I'm going to trace around the house so I know where it is, so I don't put any of the stuff that I want to put down where the house is going to sit, because I want the house to be able to be removed easily and not have it sit uneven. What I've done in the meantime is I've drilled a couple of holes for the picks. I have 2 on each side and then one over here. And, you know, if those don't end up working out when you get further, you can always stuff some of this sand mixture that I made. And I have this sand, which I got at Hobby Lobby, just a brown sand, and I mixed it with some Elmer's glue. I threw a little bit of play sand in there. So to ensure a really good adhesion, I'm also going to put a layer of, oops, this is that ultimate glue. I'm going to put that down first. And I want to make sure that I don't go over that line that I have for the house. And I'm going to go right over the edge. But I'm doing this because I want their yard to look very barren. Like there's no grass growing. Alright, start with that. And I'm going to put some down and I'm going to start squishing it. And just remember, stay away from that line. You can always fill in a little bit more later. Here it is. I'm going to let it dry. Things are starting to happen here, and here's the house with the sand. And now I need to start to place things and put them together. And then I can always fill in some of the other stuff at the very end. Because as you can see, like all the spots around the house are not covered, but I knew that that would happen, so I'm not worried about that at all. So I have the fence placed, and I'm going to use the hot glue to set it together at the end here in the back, and then I'll run it around. Okay, just hold that in place. I got both of the ends here together. All right, now I'm going to shape this because it's got the wire on there, so it makes it really easy to place and shape just the way you want it. So about midway, I'll put another glob, and that'll hold the fence post in. Keep moving around. All right, now I'm going to add my picks on the side to be like trees. I'm just doing that with the hot glue. You can add other glue. Now I've got this thing going in here. Again, use whatever glue you want to use. And I made the gravestones from a mold that I got online, and I will have that linked over on my website along with all of the directions for this craft over at craftclatch.com. And I will glue those down, and I will glue the people down. Okay, now what I'm going to do is do some more of the sand, and I'm going to cover the hot glue spots, and what I'm going to do is try to put it underneath them as well so that their bases aren't showing, because I don't want them to look like they're standing on bases. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back and do some more decorating. Now you can see where I filled it in. I used a toothpick, a skewer stick, and a stir stick to kind of get everything in where I needed to. While the base is drying, it's a good time to start working on decorating the house a little bit. And the first thing we're going to do is go on the inside, and we're going to put a couple things on the window. The first thing we're going to do is take some red paint, and this is just the acrylic paint. All I'm going to do is put like some smears on there, and I can't really show you this while I'm doing it, but it's going to be like just blood smeared down the windows. Now I added a little water to my brush, and I'm going to kind of just try to do like a blood splatter, like a red splatter on some of the upper windows. All you do is take it and tap down on your brush, but you have to have enough water in there to make it a little bit thinner. And some of the paints probably are fine just the way they are, but some are not going to be. Like the one that I have seems to be pretty thick. Okay, so we're going to let that dry. Now I'm going to be working with a little bit of this sheet moss, which I bought at the craft store. So what I'm going to do is take a little hot glue, and you can use other glue as well. Again, I'm just using the hot glue. Throw some moss in there, and I'm going to mix it with the Spanish moss. Now what I'm going to do are add these little skull beads that I have, and just as we would do with candy on the gingerbread house, on the zombie house, we're going to just use skulls instead. On the edges of the house, and maybe on certain spots on the roof and stuff, I'm going to add some more of the moss to kind of soften up the corners. And if you look closely, you can see where the clear layer that we poured, that last layer so we can have the windows, I want to cover that up so you don't see that. And the moss is how I'm going to do that. I have one last thing to do before I show you everything else. And what I'm going to do is mix some water with very light gray acrylic paint. And you want it to be a very light wash, and I'm doing that on the inside of the windows, just so that they look dirty and smeared. I don't know if you can see what I did in here. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and kind of dab it off, or rub it off a little bit, because I don't want people to be able to see in the windows because I don't have anything going on inside. I'm ready for the final reveal of the zombie house, and here it is. We've got our zombie lady welcoming people to the front into their yard. We've got the zombie guy hanging out in the graveyard. We got some zombie guy trying to get into the front door. I found these little stickers. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see what's going on. I found these little skull stickers that fit the door perfect. You can see the windows are kind of smeared looking. I've got some pumpkins which I cut off of a pick and scattered them through the yard. I have some in the side yard too, but you can see all the moss and everything. I can spin it around a little bit. I have 2 skulls right at the front gate. I have the skulls running along the top. I mossed around the frame of the house on the front, the sides. See the skulls right here. I've got 4 of them on there. And I did have to add some glitter. I sprinkled just a little bit of glitter on there, and that'll fall off over time. And I did that because I was touching up the glitter on this thing. So it kind of got around, so I just spread it around. But here you can see the moss on the side of the roof. I added a spider, and that's it. Well, that's almost it. Now check this out. Let me move this forward just a little bit. I found this at Michael's on sale, because everything's on sale. And it's a strobe light, but look for it. Huh? How about that? Now you can really see the blood smears and everything there. I'm going to turn all the lights off so you can see it a little bit better. So thank you for liking and commenting on this video. I hope you like it, and I hope you like how it turned out. Perfect for Halloween. And another great use for a mold that you don't have to just think it has to be for Christmas or anything like that. I am going to put some silicone dots, like little feet under here. You could do little wooden feet like we did before. You can also put a tea light on the inside also. You don't have to have this strobe light that has the noise and stuff like that, but I thought it would be fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy crafting. Hope you like it. We'll see you next time.